Hi, I'm Shane Smith, and we're here in the Vice offices in Brooklyn, New York. And for our first story this week, we go to the Philippines. Now, not a lot of people know that the Philippines actually borrowed our Constitution when they were setting up their current political system, which is great, except for the fact that American politics has become highly contentious and intensely partisan. But in the Philippines, they're taking this to a whole new level. With more than 1,200 political assassinations in the last decade alone, the Philippines is one of the deadliest places on earth for politicians. So we sent Ryan Duffy to follow one of the nation's most gunned-after candidates as he registers for re-election.
Politicians here, they are just lazy dogs that they just want easy money.
Lazy dogs who want easy money and have a lot of guns. That seems like a recipe for disaster.
It's election season in the Philippines. And for those bold enough to run for office, that means guns, armed convoys, and plenty of violence. Now, the Philippines is already the most dangerous place on earth to run for political office. Because in a corrupt system, politicians can amass huge amounts of wealth and power if they hold top government positions. So, as a result, they arm themselves to the teeth and build private militias, which, because of political infighting, turn the country's provinces into full-on war zones.
In November of 2009, Vice Mayor Mangu Dodatu sent a convoy of friends, family, and followers to file his papers to run for governor. Just down there, beyond this road, they were headed off at the pass and brought up here, where all 57 of them were executed and buried together in a mass grave.
Among those killed were the governor's wife, his two sisters, and dozens of journalists. When the police raided the property of the Ampatuans, a rival political clan they believed to be responsible for the massacre, they found thousands upon thousands of guns, enough to build their own private army. It brings to mind the brutality of warring Mexican narco gangs, except that these guys aren't running drugs. They're supposed to be running the country. And now, just 3 years after the massacre, it's election season again, and Governor Mangu Dodatu, the same guy whose friends, family, and supporters were slaughtered, is running for re-election.
How big is the convoy we're traveling in today?
I think more or less 50 cars.
15?
Yeah, 50.
50?
Yeah.
50?
50.
Really?
Yeah.
That's your own private traffic jam. That's a lot of cars, man.
There was all kinds of security around the governor, because in a couple of days, he'd be filing the papers that would make his campaign official, which was the very thing his friends and family were trying to do when they were murdered.
That's the very, very darkest moment in my life, and the pain that came into my heart and to my family.
How nervous are you just every day traveling? Because if I'll tell you the truth, I'm a little nervous traveling with you, and I might move cars when we stop.
Don't worry, it's bulletproof.
Oh, it's bulletproof, thank God. I mean, do you think of it as in the back of your mind, or you just can't?
No.
Yeah. And what city are we in right now?
Yeah, this is Tacorong City.
Was there an attack on one of your convoys here not too long ago, or last year?
Yeah.
There was?
Yeah. Last year, August 15, it was my birthday.
On your birthday?
Yeah. And one of my board members and other civilian convoys were fatally wounded. Yeah.
And it was a political rival?
Yeah, political rival.
And how do so many of these different clans have so many weapons?
There are lots of loose firearms here in the Philippines.
Well, I've noticed that too. Everyone has a gun, man.
Yeah,
there are guns everywhere.
Guns are a huge part of Filipino culture. And just like in the US, they're historically associated with the fight for independence. But with gun ownership as high as 70% in some areas and the highest homicide rates in all of Asia, the Philippines has taken gun lust to the next level. If you didn't think that the Philippines loved their guns, they named the machine gun after the president. Can you imagine if I was holding a Barack Obama right now? So in a country where the gun has become an accepted method of political communication, it's no surprise that so many Filipinos are anxious to get their hands on one. And when you've got assassination and mayhem in mind, you don't really want a license model off of the assembly line. You want one of the untraceable weapons being crafted by an underground network of backyard gunsmiths. Nice to meet you.
Oh, jadi noon sa Danao, murag na natural na lang pagbuwang mga tuban diri kay mo. Akay ba ko kuan kay since all pa maguni sunod sag kay nagsugod akong
Just This looks like a lot of old scrap metal and discarded items that shouldn't be able to make a gun.
Sabi sa kuan niya, sa scrap nga barko bitaw.
Look at that. That makes a gun.
Siyempre kay mahadlok kita aning trabaho kay trabaho man ta nga illegal. Wa gani yung nga nadato na makasuport talo sa kadadlaw nga kinang paginahanglan.
Nanimim ni siya. Usan siya kasi mana mahuman. Nga nagsugod sa kuani niya kung edad kuan 14. 14 niya karon 25. May nagikuan ning bubuhat inani.
In an effort to reduce political assassinations during election season, the government has issued a 150-day ban on carrying any firearms during this period. However, one group that's openly flaunting this ban is the BIFM, an Islamic jihadist group that's fighting to secede from the rest of the Philippines. A group, incidentally, that Governor Mangu Dodatu has recently targeted by offering large bounties for the capture of their top leadership.
This 3 Barrett was recovered, and it is a locally made Barrett by the terrorists.
The BIFM are terrorists in your eyes.
Terrorists, yeah.
We'd heard plenty about the BIFM, and using homemade weapons was actually just the start. Far more disturbing was who eventually fired those guns.
How young are the kids they're training?
Starting from 8 and below, up to 10 or 8.
So basically, once you're 10, 11 years old, you're in military training.
Yes. They have so many satellite camp. It's not easy to go there. But if you want, at your own risk, you can go. But we are not...
No, thanks.
But of course, that's exactly what we did. What we saw when we got there was shocking. The army seemed to be made up primarily of kids, with the odd grandfatherly general leading the way.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
How you doing? Nice to meet you.
I'm Abu Misri.
Very nice to meet you.
Spokesman of the IFM. And then we go there.
We go there.
Yes.
I really did like the hand holding. I needed that hand hold right there, man. Just an endless procession of children with heavy artillery.
Because of hardship maybe and because of this good talks of these rebels, these young kids was annoyed or somewhat for adventurism, they joined this group. They think that war is just like a film.
And do you think maybe that's why the group values the younger children so much? That they don't really have that fear?
Yes. You know, kids are very adventurism and they do not think of the consequences.
And he's right. Kids are kids. Very adventurous, not thinking of consequences, and really excited to show off.
You guys made this.
Yeah, this
Wow.
gun is made from here. Yeah.
And
It's
are-
RPG.
Yeah, that is an
Yeah.
RPG, no shit. Wow.
The BIFM is just one of the groups that Governor Mangu Dodatu had to worry about back on the campaign trail, where everyone was wondering if he and his supporters were walking into a bloodbath for the second time.
Paano natin matiyak na hindi na muling mangyayari yung kinakatakutang Maguindanao massacre sa pag-file ninyo sa Thursday?
Ayun na nga, nagka-coordinate na rin kami sa militar, sa police.
Gaano ba karami yung dadalhin mong supporters?
Napakasimple lang kami. Hindi naman kami, wala namang fanfare eh.
It wasn't so much fanfare as it was a military convoy. With at least 150 cars in tow, the governor tempted fate and headed to the Office of Elections.
So the sitting governor is going to be obviously filing. Is there a chance of history repeating itself?
No, actually, we already expect that.
Okay, not exactly the reassuring response we were hoping for. Suddenly, the convoy screeched to a halt. We were all told stay in the car and stay down, while guys everywhere grabbed their guns. We finally spotted the governor, who, as it turns out, just needed to take a piss. And at the end of the day, despite a few tense moments, the governor successfully and safely filed for candidacy. But remember, this is just the start of a long and likely violent campaign season. And in a system where violence and assassination are rewarded with wealth and power, things probably aren't going to change anytime soon. Because in the Philippines, he who campaigns with the most guns wins.